I'll get on theme. Okay. Item 2, public hearing on TIF application recommendation by TIF Board in the Kalona Stable subdivision. So we'll open the public hearing. Any written comments?
Except from the TIF Committee,
Okay.
the recommendation.
Any comments from the public?
I would like to. Hate to start out, but I will. No one else do it.
Karen Burton, I'm in Kalona. I oppose any funding for the project under consideration. I'd like respectfully to ask council to think of just 2 things as you consider the application. The first is the purpose of TIF, and the second is the cost associated with TIF. The purpose of TIF, I believe, can be stated simply, to encourage development within an urban renewal area which would not otherwise occur. In other words, it's not supposed to be a developer entitlement for any developer developing anything within an urban renewal area. It's supposed to be used to encourage development that wouldn't otherwise occur and that which is desirable. I think using that standard, this project doesn't qualify. I don't see how this can be a project that anyone could say couldn't proceed without a TIF subsidy, a tax subsidy. This is a prime location near schools in a nice residential area, surrounded by nice residential areas, with a motivated owner. Mrs. Gordon, I believe, had already decided that she would not proceed on with the stables as a stable. And so she's motivated to have her land developed. So if there's no need for a subsidy, if the project can proceed without a subsidy, providing a subsidy is simply a giveaway, simply a tax giveaway, which leads to the next issue, the cost of TIF. A lot of emphasis has been placed on how much increase there would be in property tax if this project were to proceed on and 7 relatively high upper level homes were to be built. And I don't doubt that. But think for a moment, why property taxes increase with development? What's the justification for property taxes to begin with? Because taxing authorities are now required to have more and more services. A few horses, a couple pole barns, and a pasture require very little from the schools, not too much from the county, and minimal from the city. However, put 7 homes with 7 families in that same area, the tax increment is going to be matched by a service demand increment. So if you give away the tax increment that property will generate, you're essentially removing the payment of its share of the services it will require. And that will result either in an overall decrease in services to everybody, which I doubt would happen, but a spreading out of that tax increment through other taxpayers. Schools have to be paid. The students that would be brought in with 7-house development have to go to school. More city services will be required. County services will be required. Horses don't drive, not unless they're Mr. Ed. And so there will be more traffic, causing more maintenance of roads. It simply doesn't make sense that TIF has been abused as free money. Money we wouldn't have unless the development occurred. I'm not against the development at all. I just think the development has no need to be subsidized by the taxpayer. So please keep in mind the purpose of TIF and its cost, because there is a cost.
Anyone else? close the public hearing. So we're to discussion, motion. Everyone's seen the TIF Committee recommendation?
No, it's not.
We'll read it. It says who was president: Janelle Bender, Greg Van Agenen, Brenda Herington, Ron Conkle.
Is that how I spell your last, say your last name?
Conkle. Okay.
That was right.
Jenny Schlabaugh, also present, Ryan Schlabaugh, Bill Young, and Karen Burke. Item 1, agenda of the meeting is to address the request of TIF funds for the stable on J Avenue by YM Developers LLC. Janelle Bender called the meeting to order. Election of officers: Jenny Schlabaugh, nominated by Greg as secretary. Ron second, all in favor. Janelle was nominated by Ron to be re-elected as chairperson, seconded by, I guess, Brenda. All in favor. Brian Schlabaugh submitted a summary of TIF projects awarded in the past and gave an overview of the TIF funding. Janelle called for a discussion of the application for TIF received from YM Developers LLC. Bill Young reviewed the application, which was attached. The amount for $105,000 requested for a period of 10 years. After reviewing application, comments and questions were asked by committee and public. Janelle made a motion to close the meeting. Greg Van Agenen seconded, and Bill was excused. Bill Young. Discussion was held on previous TIF funding, length of the request, and discussed properties in the area given to the committee by Ryan Schlabaugh. Greg made a motion that the committee recommend $80,000 over 8 years. Brenda seconded the motion. Jenny, yes. Ron, yes. Janelle did not vote. Committee discussed low to moderate income construction projects, a list of funds, and anticipated funds for 2010 were given. Sidewalks discussed as used for TIF fund. Ryan was going to look into the criteria for what can and cannot do with LMI construction funds. Committee agreed to meet the 14th, 7. Greg made the motion to adjourn. Jenny seconded. So what it amounts to is there was a request for $105,000. The committee felt $80,000 was more appropriate. There was a request for 10 years. The committee felt 8 years was more appropriate, and they did move it on to the council.
I thought they moved it to 10 years, not 8 years.
Nope, it's $80,000 over 8 years instead of $105,000 over 10 years. So you have the recommendation from our TIF committee. Questions, comments, feelings, motions? What does the council want to do?
Who sets the committee, the TIF committee? Does the council do that? Okay, so we've done that. So they're making, we trust these people, right, to make recommendations to us. They've made a recommendation, so I think we should take the recommendation.
Yes, I feel as long as we're doing with these funds as they are to be used and not doing anything wrong, then I don't have an issue with it. I think, like Rick said, we entrust these people to make decisions that we have them for. And
Janelle Bender's been on this committee for a long time. She's been through quite a few of these. And Janelle was also on the council years ago.
When it was started.
Yeah, I think she has, and I'm sure the rest. My wife is on the committee. She was new and studied a lot, went in trying to learn, and I think educated herself on the process. I think there is a group there that is knowledgeable on the process and understands what we're trying to do.
I don't disagree with what Karen has to say. I'm really kind of on the fence with this. I do respect the recommendation of our TIF team or committee. But, you know, like I said, I'm waffling down the middle here. But, you know, we have in the past assisted other developers, which I'm not really quite sure that's what we should really be doing. But we do have a committee that we turn this stuff over to ask their opinion, and I hadn't heard that until just now, so I just want to make that known. Nobody quite sure what to do.
Great. So I have a quick curious question though, and as I'm trying to process some of this information. So the one question I have is there actually like a set amount of TIF funds that are available for these type of projects? Is there like a cap in which now we're taking some of this money and setting it aside for this? Because that's basically what we're doing, correct?
You're collecting it from the tax entity, which is the county, and you're certifying how much you want to collect. So for example, if we use Coralville as an example, they may collect, they're not using a particular parcel to collect those funds. They're using multiple entities to be able to grab that much money. The way Kalona has structured it is they use each of those parcels as the driving force of how much is reimbursed up until the amount awarded.
There is a cap for the urban renewal area.
And what's that at?
I can't tell you that because I don't have those figures in front of me, but it's on our assessor's figures when they give us those for when we're doing the budget. There is a cap. We have never been close to the cap.
Well, that's kind of my
Nor have they
concern.
asked for the
No.
total.
My
Some do.
concern, and I'm sure that's what the committee had kind of taken in consideration when they turned around and instead of taking the 105 and then saying that 80 is more appropriate. I just want to make sure that if there's another project that is actually coming up in the future, that there's potential availability of those funds for other individuals down the line. You know, and I guess that's what I just want to make
We
sure.
use some of
that
those
that
funds on the senior project right over here.
That's
You
the
know,
low to moderate
yes.
income.
Low to moderate income, which is what we do. We used those TIF funds a couple of years ago when we did the low to moderate income housing redevelopment thing that was sponsored by the state. We helped.
But remember, those are low to moderate funds
Right.
that have been created from the TIF contracts that we have entered into with developers. If we would not have entered into those with the developers, that would not have been created.
It could have been created, but only through the use of TIF.
Right.
But if I take just some ballpark tax numbers off this thing, the amount of money that we would be paying the developer would basically equate to the fact that that property would be occupied with houses on it if they're all 7 of them are developed and all 7 of them are sold. Okay, great assumptions here. That, you know, I wish him luck that he gets that done, but you know, let's be realistic. They're not all going to sell the same day. We still have some other houses waiting to be sold. But if you take those 7 houses and you just take and I just took a ballpark number, that let's say the taxes on those were about $3,000 a piece, you know, that's $21,000, so it takes about 4 years that property would sit there. Basically, we would be getting no tax funds from that property because all those taxes would be going back to that developer. After that 4 years, then we start getting the tax funds, our percentage, wherever that is, about $4 for every house in the city, from the county, but a little bit more than that.
If you look at a house that has a $3,200 yearly tax, that's meaning that home is valued at about $189,200. The district's share, school district is $1,302, city share is $927, and the county gets about $980. So, you know, using your formula there, that's,
You know,
We are going to
it's
get
gonna be
some,
a lot.
we are going to get some tax dollars because we're only creating TIF funds based on the increment that's increased on that property.
Right.
So what was there, the base that was there to start with, we're still getting that. It's only what how they improve the property after we give the agreement. That's what the increment that would go back with the TIF agreement.
And to the developer per the contract up until the amount that's awarded by council. So, for example, if $1 million home went in, obviously that's a very large taxable home. That wouldn't mean the developer would get exponentially more. It's still held to whatever agreed upon amount the council puts out. Or if the lot's set undeveloped, let's use that as an example. The property itself would increase in value from the $3,200 a year that it's currently bringing in. $3,152 is the tax on it right now, payable. If those lots are to be developed but not built on, you would see a minor increase in the taxable value of the property, but you're talking currently undeveloped lots, I believe, are being assessed at about $800. So that puts you at $5,600, so about $2,400 in increase. So you take your equation there with your rollback and everything, and you're looking not very much money.
Now, by doing this, we do not eliminate the developer's risk. A lot of people think, well, we're just giving him free money. We're not. Because unless he develops the properties fully, he doesn't get anything. So this is not free money. We're just giving him to do this. Any more discussion? Do I have a motion
So
to
accept it.
Accept the recommendation from.
Yes, from the
from the committee?
80,000 for 8 years?
yes, please.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries.